Keir Starmer's time in government is coming to a close, and I know that you've probably seen loads of videos from different YouTubers saying this every other week, but I really do believe it. His own MPs are coming after him. They've lined up a successor. His poll ratings are through the floor. He's mired in multiple scandals. His position is just untenable at this point. So let's get into it. Fresh from this morning, hot off the press, front page of the news, Andy Burnham, the mayor for Manchester, claims that Labour MPs are begging him to oust Keir Starmer. And that is astonishing. A senior Labour Party figure like Andy Burnham now feels so confident that Keir Starmer's time is over and that there's so little support left for him within the Labour Party that he's willing to come out and say these things publicly. It makes Keir look exceptionally weak, like he's lost control of his own party members.
Has Burnham broken cover? I mean, will alarm bells be going off right now behind that door behind you?
Well, look, I do think it's worth taking a step back for a moment and pointing out that it is only just over a year ago that Keir Starmer won a big majority. So the fact that there does seem to be an open conversation now about whether he's going to be replaced and by who, yes, does show just how much trouble the Prime Minister is in.
Now, the route to power for Andy Burnham is actually quite convoluted because he's not an MP, he's the mayor for Manchester. So in order to become the Prime Minister, he actually has to first resign as the mayor and then stand as an MP in a by-election somewhere, all the while hoping that Keir Starmer doesn't just remove the whip from him for disloyalty. But I don't know if Andy Burnham could actually win a by-election. How many by-elections are up for grabs genuinely for the Labour Party at this point? Because they're competing not only on the left with your party, Jeremy Corbyn, the Greens, but also on the right, the Reform Party. So he's going to have to try and get a safe seat somewhere, which basically means that some Labour oldie is going to have to give up their job just for Andy Burnham. And what exactly is it about Andy Burnham's position that's so enticing to the Labour Party? Well, he wants to raise the top rate of tax to 50% and work with anyone, including Jeremy Corbyn.
Now, but what he's saying is now, he's playing a very kind of crafty game. He's now been approached saying, have you been approached? And he's saying, yes, I have. And he's saying that he's got policies that he's going to run, and some of those policies are same old, higher council tax on expensive properties. He's going to 50p income tax on people. So it's no different to Starmer in this Labour Party.
Reason number two that Keir Starmer's time is nearly over: scandals. Lots of them. It turns out that Keir Starmer's Chief of Staff, Morgan McSweeney, raised £740,000 worth of donations to help put Keir Starmer as the leader of the Labour Party and subsequently the Prime Minister, except he didn't declare those donations. Now, this was actually investigated a few years ago when he was found guilty by the Electoral Commission and had to pay a fine. But new emails have surfaced which show that even when the Electoral Commission were investigating, Morgan McSweeney was lying to them about what he knew and when. So it's being reinvestigated. And I just want you to think about the ramifications of this for a second. It means that basically an illegal slush fund of money, 740 grand, which wasn't declared, was being used by the Labour Party to push Keir Starmer to the top and then push him into being Prime Minister. That's really damaging, and that's a very, very bad sign for our democracy. Another scandal, Peter Mandelson. Keir Starmer made Peter Mandelson ambassador to the United States, the same Peter Mandelson who was best friends with Jeffrey Epstein. And leaked emails coming out of the United States now show the extent of that relationship between Epstein and Mandelson. Even after Epstein's first conviction, Mandelson was going over to his flat for tea parties, telling Epstein, "Oh, I don't believe your conviction, I don't think that's fair or true at all." Disgusting stuff. And for anyone who wants to defend Keir Starmer and say, "Oh, maybe he didn't know about all of this," yes, he did.
The FT did a report this summer on a JP Morgan report which suggested that Peter Mandelson had stayed at the New York townhouse of Jeffrey Epstein in 2009 when he was de facto Deputy Prime Minister, and while the financier was imprisoned for soliciting prostitution from a minor. Do you think that Lord Mandelson, who is of course a close political ally of yours, has some questions to answer?
Jim, let me just first, on Peter Mandelson, look, and I do try to give pretty full answers in these sessions. I don't know any more than you do, and therefore there's not really much I can add to what you already know, I'm afraid.
That clip was from 2023, long before Keir Starmer became the Prime Minister and long before Mandelson was made the ambassador. So anyone who wants to say that Keir Starmer didn't know about this, they're just lying. And you might be wondering to yourself, well, don't MI5 do some kind of vetting for these people? You know, ambassadors that we're going to send all around the world, especially to countries as important as the United States? And the answer is yes. But Keir Starmer appointed Mandelson before the vetting process for Mandelson was complete. Why did he do that? Well, I put it to you that actually Keir Starmer knew what MI5 were going to say. They were going to come back and suggest, I don't think you should make Mandelson the ambassador to the United States because he's got this historical friendship with Jeffrey Epstein. And Epstein, in the US and frankly everywhere, is completely toxic. Keir Starmer knew what MI5 were going to say, but he still wanted to make his friend the ambassador. So he just did it. We don't want someone with that level of judgment being the Prime Minister in this country. Let me just expand on that point, because it's not just Peter Mandelson, is it? Angela Rayner, a couple of weeks ago, Deputy Leader, well, she had to resign because she didn't pay her taxes. Who made her the Deputy Leader? Well, it was Keir Starmer, of course, wasn't it? Tulip Siddiq, she used to be the corruption minister. Keir Starmer appointed her as such. Well, she had to resign as well. Why? Because she got involved in corruption. Rachel Reeves lied on her CV, claimed that she was an economist at the Bank of England for 10 years. Not true. What did Keir Starmer do? He made her Chancellor. David Lammy, he made David Lammy the Foreign Secretary, even though in the past David Lammy had called Donald Trump a racist KKK sympathiser. There's actually tons of examples I can go through where Keir Starmer is just an awful, awful judge of character. Speaking of the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, I think she wants out. I don't think she wants to be the Chancellor anymore, and if she goes before Keir Starmer does, that's going to weaken his position even further. And I'll tell you why. The economy is completely screwed. Remember when Liz Truss crashed the economy with Kwasi Kwarteng because the gilt yields went all the way up to 4.7%? Well, they're now at 5.6%, even higher, and there's no sign that they're actually coming down. That means that when the government borrows money, it has to pay even more interest. The point is, people don't really want to lend the UK money at the moment because there isn't that much confidence in the UK, especially not under the current leadership. If Rachel Reeves has to deliver another budget, it's going to be crippling. It's going to be big tax rises because she simply cannot borrow any more money, and they're not willing to cut welfare spending. They're not willing to deport people who are just costing us an absolute fortune. So the only thing left to do is raise your taxes. Apparently they're looking at raising taxes on drivers. So in addition to fuel duty, they're actually going to start charging you somewhere between 3 pence and 9 pence per mile that you drive. Ridiculous. They're just scrambling for any amount of money that they can get. Totally ridiculous. And I don't think that Rachel Reeves wants to become the most hated person in the country if she has to deliver another budget just crippling people with taxes. So I think she's going to go, and that's going to weaken Keir Starmer even more. Another point I haven't really touched on in this video is that Keir Starmer is just not very popular. Neither is the Labour Party in general. I looked up Keir Starmer's approval ratings this morning, and the first thing I got from a Google search was an article in The Guardian which said, the worst chart in the West, Keir Starmer's approval ratings. So even The Guardian, the lefty Guardian, are attacking Keir Starmer for being unpopular. If you're a Labour MP right now who wants to have a job as a Labour MP in 5 or 6 years' time, you've got to be looking at Keir Starmer and thinking, he is actually hurting my job prospects because he's dragging the party straight into the ground. Now, is that really fair? Or is that just because Labour Party policies in general are actually kind of destructive and are crippling the country? I suspect it's more of that. But that's not how they think. They will think it's all just because of Keir Starmer. They'll think maybe if we went more to the left, maybe if we became more left-wing, things would get better. I've got news for you. It won't. It'll just get worse faster. But they don't think like that, okay? They have an entirely different worldview. So they just blame everything on Keir Starmer. They think that he's the one who's getting absolutely everything wrong, and he is getting a lot of stuff wrong. But it's not all his fault. It's that we've had left-wing policies, socialist policies in this country for a very long time, ever since Tony Blair, because the Tories were just a continuation of it. And now all of the problems that we've created have been created by an excess of liberalism, too much left-wing politics. So the solutions are right-wing, but the Labour Party and Keir Starmer cannot bring you those right-wing solutions, can they? So it's a catch-22. It doesn't really matter who they put into that top position at this point. They're kind of done for. And I've got to wonder at this point, does Keir Starmer himself even actually want to be Prime Minister anymore? Because I think he realises what I've just told you. that the way to solve a lot of the country's problems are to reduce welfare spending, and he tried to do it, by the way, but all of his backbench MPs rebelled. So he knows that spending needs to come down, but he knows also that he can't push that through because his own MPs will reject it. So he's kind of just trapped. He's stuck between Scylla and Charybdis, a rock and a hard place, okay? He knows what the solutions are. He knows that actually we need to leave the ECHR, repeal the HRA, deport a lot of these people who are costing us a fortune, lower welfare spending, and just get back to working as a country within our means, stop borrowing huge amounts of money. Then you would start to see the interest rates on gilts actually come down because confidence would be restored in the British economy and the British state. He knows that those are the solutions, but he can't do those things because his entire party is just full of hardcore lefties. Not all of them are hardcore lefties. You've actually got a whole section called Blue Labour who are generally quite reasonable. There's like 10 people in it. Anyway, look, that's just my 2 cents. I'm not sure that Keir Starmer even wants that top job anymore. And that, if he's looking for an off-ramp, that is going to be a massive contributing factor to him going. But the very last thing I'll say is, be careful what you wish for. Keir Starmer, not good, screwed a lot of things up, terrible judgment of character and just in general. But what comes next could be a lot worse. I've already spoken about Andy Burnham, but if it's not Andy Burnham, it could be David Lammy, okay? It could be Lucy Powell, who said that the grooming gang thing was just a dog whistle, okay? A lot of these people in the Labour Party are way worse than Keir Starmer, and because Keir Starmer is the face of all of the damage that's being done, you think that he is absolutely the worst part of the Labour Party, but I guarantee you, he is not. There is worse. So be careful what you wish for. There are no solutions to be found for this country within the Labour Party. They just need to go. We can't have an election soon enough. That's one thing that Keir Starmer could do. If he does recognise that the country needs right-wing solutions, but that the Labour Party simply cannot provide them, well, he could just call a general election and hope that reform get in. If he was a true patriot, that is what he would do. Anyway, that's all I've got to say today. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, please do leave a like, comment, subscribe. Nice little 4-minute rant at the end of the video for you. Hope you enjoyed it. Peace out.